I want to tell you a secret. Not every real estate agent can create meaningful, lasting impact on their client's life. But our guest today has been doing just that for 30 years. Lynn Marie Robinson, leader of the Lynn Group, is here to share her incredible journey from the retail industry to becoming one of the Toronto's most trusted realtors. Lynn, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Cheyenne, and thanks for inviting me. It's a real pleasure.
Thank you. So let's start from the beginning. You came into the real estate market with a strong background in retail industry. How did your retail experience prepare you for challenges and opportunities of real estate career, and what motivated you to make the switch?
So I was in retail for a very long time, and I'm actually from the Maritimes originally and moved here in 1991, but I ran and operated 13 retail stores in Atlantic Canada.
Oh, wow.
So there was lots and lots of work to do there and many, many hours. One of the similarities between retail and real estate is that you work when other people are not. So nights and weekends, I always worked. And so that transition to real estate was not a big deal for me because I already did that. The organizational skills and the consistency required in retail, it's a hard business, but to run 13 stores that's huge. It was a big job, and that helped me make my strategies and my systems and stay consistent.
That's very nice. That's very nice. Did you face any challenges, switching from retail to real estate?
Well, I worked so much in retail, and I had a 5-year-old daughter.
Oh, wow.
And so I didn't see her as much as I would like to. She spent more time in daycare
Vanessa.
than she did with me. Vanessa, we'll talk a little bit about her as well, and who's now in real estate. So I wanted to transition out of retail, and I thought that real estate would be easy.
Just like everybody.
Just like everybody, and that I would have more time to spend with my daughter. So I decided to take 1 year off, and at that time, the courses were through a correspondence. So you'd get mailed your information, then you'd get a test, and you'd fill your test out, and you'd put it in the mail and wait to see if you passed or not. And for a year, I took the courses part-time. That's how I got my license. So I was able to spend good quality time with my daughter and get my license, and truly thought that it would be, I'd have all control of my time and everything, and that was a falsehood.
But you made it. You did it.
A few years later, yeah.
One thing that stands out about your work is your commitment to exceptional service. You've built a network of specialists to help your clients through every step of the process. Can you talk about how this approach contributes to achieving extraordinary results for your client?
It's tricky. So there's different types of real estate and different types of professionals required to help the clients. And my list is probably a little bit bigger than most because I also specialize in working with older adults, and their needs are very different from a typical buyer or seller that is, upwardly mobile. So
give us some example of that.
Okay, so I have an extensive network of people like downsizers and movers and auctioneers and people that will appraise things, and people like buyers of items and different things like that. There's also counseling. Sometimes these things are very, very difficult. I have an extensive network of retirement residences. I go and visit them all, and I know the people that run them, and they're not all created equal. They're all very different. They have their own personalities. So when you run into a client who's thinking they want to go to a retirement residence, you could usually narrow it down to their personality. So those skills, you have to go out and pound the pavement and visit those places. And also, I belong to several networking groups of people that specialize in working with seniors, but not very many real estate agents. Usually I'm the only one in the meeting. So that's how I meet all these different people.
That's very interesting. And it must be very difficult to, bring all these people together and build a network to make it work for a specific buyer or seller.
So the hardest part is finding somebody that you would work with yourself. So I always think of, would I hire this person to work with my mom and my dad? Would I hire them to work with me? And that's even down to a handy person, who everybody needs a good handy person. I was just on the phone before I came in here interviewing a new handy person. So quite often I will interview them. I'll meet them for coffee. And if I don't like the vibe, or if I don't feel comfortable with them, then I move on. So it's like a real team. And people say they have teams, but I think your exceptional specialists are part of your team too. And I will say, like my home inspectors I like to use, they're part of my team. And we know they're going to do a good job and that the client's going to be happy. And that's the bottom line. They don't have to go hunting for people.
That's awesome. You make life easy for all your clients.
That's right? The goal.
They don't have to, that's amazing. You've known for working closely with boomers and older adults during major life transitions. What inspired you to focus on this niche, and how does your SRES designation help you provide specialized care for those clients?
Okay, that's a good question. Thank you. I also have another designation. It's called a CPCA, which is a Certified Professional Consultant on Aging. And it's not cheap, and it's not for real estate agents specifically. It's just for people who work with older adults, and it is very recognized in the senior industry. It would be considered like a entry-level university course. It is provided by a company called Age Friendly Business out of Vancouver, and it's a very, very good course. It taught me a lot about older adults and how to work with those folks. I always had an interest in older folks. For some reason, I gravitated to them and liked working with them. I also, over the years, have experienced them being treated poorly in the real estate industry and being taken advantage of. And I used to get very, very upset with that. So I thought, well, how can I solve that? I should really learn how to help these folks out and work with them. And so that's that's kind of my inspiration. Then I started joining networking groups and really finding out how I can service them better, and including some therapy sessions on exactly what to say, how to behave.
You do those sessions as well?
Yeah, so I've been on a weekend retreat with 2 mediators, and all they do is talk about how to have family conversations, how to talk with people, because there's always, there's a thing like a lot of older adults, their license is the hardest thing, and losing their independence. And that's usually a family conversation, and it usually doesn't go exceptionally well. So we have labels for everybody. There's kids that will come in from far away and think that they're going to take charge when they've never been there and never done anything. We call those the swoopers. And so there's all kinds of dynamics with the family. And the focus is always on the person that's actually moving. So we focus on that person. I don't focus on the children at all. I just hone in on the individual, make sure they know they're special and that they're the client and they'll be taken care of. So
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Would you do the same if you go back? Like, would you do the same niche, working with like older adults?
Sorry, again?
If you were to go back, would you go back to the same type of clientele?
From the beginning, would I? I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay.
I don't think so, because I think you need a little bit of experience, or quite a bit of an experience in the industry, to have all the basics down, to know how to actually buy a house or sell a home for people and get your resources together. And I think working with older adults takes it to a different level. You really have to have that experience behind you, and then grow your education, and then how you're going to deal with older adults. Usually it's not a happy time. It's not always a happy time. We try to make it a happy time. Lots of laughing and jokes. But
it's not always the happiest time for people.
Well, it's usually people thinking about their mortality. They're not, downsizing to a retirement residence as, in their minds, one step before something, not so pleasant. A condo, quite often that's very happy because they can travel more, close the door. They don't have to worry about snow and grass and things like that. But often it's not a happy time. People are leaving homes they've been in with, 30, 40, 50 years. So,
that makes sense.
yeah.
Understandable. You've been active in Toronto's real estate market since 1993.
Right.
When I was 3 years old.
When you were 3 years old. Okay.
What are some of the most significant changes you've seen over the years, and how have you adapted to these shifts to stay ahead of the curve?
Okay. When I started, we had to go into the office to use a communal computer because people didn't have computers. And then laptops came out, and I bought my first laptop in the 90s. It was a Toshiba. It cost me $4,500.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Back in the 90s.
That's a lot of money.
That's a huge amount of money. It was enormous. And we used to go into the office, and we had pagers that would beep. And they would take our messages down on pink pieces of paper and put them in our little cubby holes. So when we went to the office, we would pick up our messages and read our messages. So sometimes people would steal your messages and stuff like that. So you had to be pretty sharp to get in there if you had a message in your box, right?
Wow.
And so things have changed dynamically since then. Then there was pagers. Then there was Palm Pilots.
What's that?
It was probably the first smart-ish device. And you would put your database in there and different things like that. It was, I don't know, about this big. Then we went to the BlackBerry. And then smartphones. BlackBerry was the first smartphone.
And the MLS system wasn't there. It was like a booklet or something.
Yeah, we used to get weeklies
so
with the new list. So you could get a book once a month, but you got weeklies that were perforated. There was 4 listings on a page, and you would go through all the new listings. And it was 3 to 5 days from when the properties actually got on the market. So people would drive around in neighborhoods looking for signs and try to scoop up properties for their buyers before the sheets before the sheets got out.
Wow.
Yeah, so you didn't even know that. Yeah, you weren't. So, I don't know, AI today. We used to also run around in our cars, sleet, hail, snow, sometimes in the middle of the night getting signatures. It was fax machines, and if the fax machine was broken, how many times we were sitting at a fax machine, papers would get lost, or it was interesting to be sure.
Wow.
So when the electronic signatures came along, that was spectacular. Phones, again, the first cell phone was like the size of a brick. Then I remember I got a car phone, and I was very, very fancy to have a car phone. Everybody thought, "Ooh, she has a car phone."
So you couldn't have done like as many transactions back in the day because of all these issues and a lack of technology.
No, you still did it. It was just always panicked. And I think you worked longer hours too. You had to work longer hours. And timing now, you can send a document in DocuSign and you don't have to leave.
Get it done in like a minute.
That's right. But if that DocuSign is going to Peterborough or to Pickering or Ajax, in the old days, you had to get in your car and drive there, and lots and lots of driving. And offers tend to be irrevocable until 11:59 p.m. So
now you're working at like 10 p.m. driving around trying to get signatures and all of that. Oh, wow.
So the big changes, there were 17,000 agents when I started. Now there's 75,000 agents.
75,000.
So you really have to adjust to that.
But a lot of people are dropping out.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. This year alone, I think about 10,000 didn't renew their license. And we have until December 31st, probably more are going to let go of their licenses.
I certainly hope so.
Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing.
You think it's a good thing?
Yep.
Okay.
I think the people that are not renewing their license are the people that maybe shouldn't have had one to start with. It is a very difficult business, but it's also it is a big responsibility. And you have to, as you know, we work at Royal LePage Signature, which is the best brokerage in the world probably, and they train us very, very well. If you're not trained well and you're not on top of all the new rules and enforcements that are brought into our industry, then you fall behind and you're not performing properly. And then you can't take care of your client properly. So a lot of those folks don't do our industry any justice. So
it's easy to get deceived by all the glamour from outside, right? You see all the realtors riding nice cars, wearing nice dress and stuff, and it's easy to be fooled by that, and you think, oh, it's easy let's get in there, make money. But the reality is not that. You have to work hard. You have to run it like a business. And a lot of people get surprised by the fact that they have to do that.
Yeah, I think only 5% of people actually make it to the 5-year mark. And a lot fall through the cracks. The first 2 years tells the tale, usually. I mean, the most important thing, and you're going to ask me this question probably, that is to be consistent. And a lot of people, they just don't know how to do that. But consistency.
I agree.